In the last 9 months, I have lost almost 20 kilos, and today I'm telling you everything. This video could be long, so grab yourself a cup of tea and let's chat. So quick disclaimer, I'm not a health professional, doctor or dietitian. Everything I share is based on my own personal experience. Trigger warning, I will be talking about weight and food. So if those topics are difficult for you, then please look after yourself and I will catch you in a following video. So I feel really awkward talking about this. I don't know why I share so many personal things on this channel, but this is something that I feel quite vulnerable about. And so I have got things written down so that I stay on track for one, but also so that I don't miss any of the points and any of the important things that I want to share. So in May 2025, I was in the throes of burnout. I had been working in a job for a couple of years or more, closer to 3 years, that I had found really personally challenging. I'd persevered through a lot. I'd had a lot of personal things going on with family and moving house and all of that the prior year. So I just was not coping, in all honesty. A lot of GPs put it down to perimenopause, if GPs believe in perimenopause, because I'm finding that isn't always the case. So it was a bit of a challenge to find someone who would listen. I ended up going through an employee assistance program counsellor through my work, and he actually suggested to me HRT and talking to my doctor about that. Of course, I'd heard all of what I know now as myths related to the risks of HRT. So I hadn't even contemplated it. I also didn't think I was old enough, if I'm quite honest. But yeah, that's where I started with HRT. So I started on estrogel, which I apply to my arms, and progesterone, which I take at 2 tablets each night. If you take nothing else from this video, I highly recommend chatting to your GP about HRT if you are of a certain age. And I will tell you that perimenopause can start as early as 35. So just saying. In May, right around the time that I talked to that counsellor through work, I also decided, actually persevered for a little while longer with work, but realised that that wasn't going to work for me. So another opportunity came up and I went for it and I was successful. And when I tell you that was the best decision of my life in terms of my career, 12 months down the track, 0 regrets. It was the best thing I've ever done for myself, aside from all of this video. So by June, end of June, beginning of July, I had gotten into my new role. I was rediscovering myself, learning to trust myself and listen to my instincts, and I was given so much freedom, allowed to have so much creativity, and just really give back in a way that I felt like I was really missing in my previous role. Felt like I had fallen on my feet, which still to this day, 12 months later, I still feel that. By September, I felt like I had almost fully recovered from the burnout, but to be honest, I think it will haunt me for the rest of my life. Some of the things that I experienced in that previous role will never leave me as a person, and it definitely changed me, and I definitely had a moment there for quite a long time. It was quite a long moment of feeling like I was broken and that I may never recover. Around that time, I got on the scales and discovered that I was 118 kilos. That was the highest I had ever been throughout all of my pregnancies. I honestly had never been that big, even 9 months pregnant with any of my kids. So that was a huge wake-up call for me. Around that time, the algorithm works for you, and there was a local gym advertising a 6-week program that then qualified you for a further 6 weeks free. So I went ahead and signed on the dotted line. There were 3 or 4 things that I had to do in order to qualify for the 6 weeks, and I locked in. When I tell you I locked in, I made a spreadsheet. I won't say it was 100% perfect, but it was 100% better on anything that I had done prior. So perfection is overrated. I always say that. So I was pretty impressed with my efforts. That 6 weeks was intense. There were several times, I'll try to insert some clips where I would get to 7 o'clock at night and I still had 5,000 steps left to do because my job is very desk based. And I would go to the gym and get on the treadmill and just walk it off. So determined not to break the streak. There was the occasional day that I did have to, but overall I averaged 8k steps a day, often more. I even went so far as to try for 8k steps by 8 a.m. on sometimes, and then I got really obsessive at one point and was doing 10k steps before 10 a.m. So I was just really locked in. I was loving every minute of it. Included in that gym program was semi-private PTs, so it was a maximum of 6 people in the PT program. There was a program done by the PT for me. It was all weight-based strength building, which I absolutely just loved. I could feel myself getting stronger. There were moments where I would laugh at myself and my complete inability and zero upper body strength, but it was definitely something that I really enjoyed. I also got into boxing, which I think I've talked about a couple of times in the last couple of videos, which I absolutely love. It is the highlight of my week, and partly, maybe mostly, because I work out with a girl who is like kindred spirits. We just got along from the second we met, and we just have the best time. She really just brings out the best in me, and we see each other 45 minutes once a week, but it's great. I forgot to add that I have made the most amazing friends through the gym as well. We actually went to this great night out, this sing-along thing that was so much fun. And if you had told me that I go to like a club with the girls that I met from the gym, things have changed. The other thing that I needed to do was track my calories every day, which I was doing a lot of. What I didn't realize in the first 6 weeks, all I had to do was actually take photos of the food that I was eating and track that. But I, of course, in true type A style with ADHD tendencies, started to track everything on MyFitnessPal. I was weighing things, I was counting calories, I was obsessing over every little macro, although I didn't quite understand what macros were at that point. So I was, like I said, locked in. By the end of the 6 weeks, I earned my 6 weeks free, and I was so proud of myself, and then I relaxed. So my body, I got sick, I believe. It was heading into the end of the year by that point. This is probably my least favorite photo of myself, but it was a really good day with 2 of my worlds colliding, my best friends from university and my best friends from high school, all in the one place. It was really special, but I was so conscious of how bloated I looked and big. Overall, I felt way stronger, way more capable. I felt like for the first time ever that I was actually making progress, but the scales didn't say so. So I had gone from 118 to 113 over 6 weeks, which is not bad, but kind of anticipated more given the effort that I was putting in. So that was disheartening. Of course, I went with the whole logic like muscle weighs more than fat, so that makes sense, but I wasn't seeing anything else. Wasn't seeing my face change, or I wasn't feeling it. So I was doing the actions, but I wasn't getting the results in the way that I felt like I needed to keep. There was probably a lot of toxic culture, diet culture in there, obviously, but you know, I'm a 40-something-year-old woman. I grew up with that stuff. Also, hormones were all over the shop. In December, I had my period 3 times. So 3 times in 1 month, I was quite frankly and quite honestly drained. I was taking my my iron tablets, but yeah, I was barely functioning. Christmas was hectic. My colleague was away, so I did have another colleague helping me out, but I was familiar with all of the people that we work with at that point, so I felt very responsible for what was happening. I was trying to hold it all together. Yeah, it was a pretty intense time over Christmas, so naturally the cortisol levels were high. Nothing like in my old job though. Like I just don't have the same level of stress that was daily in that job, in this job. It might happen once or twice in a year. Please don't curse me. I touch wood because I don't want to jinx myself. So we find ourselves October, November, December. Maeve graduated from high school, which was a pretty huge achievement because she had had a really, really rocky last couple of years. Like, while I was not coping, nor was she, and that has been true her whole entire life. I remember years ago I had a psychologist who suggested to me that Maeve was my mood barometer, or I was Maeve's mood barometer. Like, we're very in sync like that, as much as we clash. That seems to be kind of the case, and we were both kind of just coexisting at that point. The other kids were doing their thing, but it was hard, and I felt very disconnected for several years from my family, but slowly coming back over that October, November, December. January came around. I was so locked in again in terms of wanting to make fresh new start, new me, feeling so encouraged by what I had already achieved, feeling healthier, feeling just so much better. And then my boxing buddy and I did another challenge at the gym. It was a duo challenge. So we both had to track calories and macros and exercise and all that sort of stuff. So that was motivating. That's when I learned about macros. So I learned about the importance of protein and carbs and fat, and all of those things are essential in a whole, healthy body. I learned how to calculate what was appropriate macros for my body size and for my activity levels and all of that sort of thing. And I discovered that for the most part, I was under eating. I was not eating enough calories, or I was eating too much of the wrong calories. So I was counting calories, but not in the macro thing. If you want me to talk a little bit more about that and what I figured out, I'm more than happy to do that. It's kind of like a little pet project that I love now, that's kind of obsessive, but that's how I roll. I think we came 4th or 5th in the partner challenge, but I will say I dropped the ball in the last weekend because I went away with my husband for the weekend, so I didn't track. By March, I'd lost 7 kilos in, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So in 7 months, I'd lost like 1 kilo a month, which is good and healthy, but it was the same 7 kilos. Like, I would go up and I would go down, and I would go up and I would go down. And I just couldn't seem to sustain any kind of pattern or rhythm to the whole thing. I chatted to a few friends. I'd had a couple of friends who had done GPL1s, and they had had their experience. And I started to lock in on researching all of that. Like, I had a kind of misconception that a GPL1 was kind of a cheater's way. I definitely had a lot of misconceptions about it. I discussed it with my doctor, who had done all the blood tests and everything, and I had an otherwise healthy body. My cholesterol was amazing. My vitamin D and my iron was obviously very low from the very heavy periods. And the frequent periods, the HRT wasn't really working there. So she agreed that it's an option. And so she prescribed me Mounjaro. So I started Mounjaro mid to late March, started on the 2.5 milligram, and I can talk about the side effects and all of the things that I experienced at that time, the cost and all of that in another video if that's something that you're interested in, but it's just a little part of this whole story. It's definitely helped shift the scales. There's no two ways about it, but not in that I take the jab and then I lose weight. Like, I'm still working really hard. I'm still counting the macros for the most part. There are some issues there, the opposite to what I used to have. I'm still really conscious of exercising regularly. I am doing all of the things that is required to lose weight. I'm just getting that little bit of extra help that Mounjaro definitely has changed for me. What I've come to realize, that if you're someone who experiences a poor relationship with food, if you're prone to obesity, all sorts of other health-related things to that, it's not dissimilar to saying that someone who needs to wear glasses isn't trying enough or isn't squinting hard enough. Like, I did not know that the way that I feel on Mounjaro is actually how people feel when they don't have the brain that I have, like who they actually have a brain that does tell them that they're full. I never experienced that before. I was never full. I never felt full. I was always thinking about food. I didn't realize how much until I wasn't. That was weird. But yeah, so, it's very much like that. Like, we would not say to someone, you need glasses, like maybe you should try harder. It's now, in hindsight, it's kind of crazy to me to think like that. I didn't have, my brain just didn't stop. It didn't stop thinking about food. I never felt full. I could eat and eat and eat and eat. I would stop because the food wasn't there anymore, but I would not stop because I felt full. The things that I feel now on Mounjaro, like I can crave something, but not to the extent that I did before. Before, I would think, I'd love some popcorn, and then I would obsess about getting the popcorn until I could have the popcorn, and then I would binge on it, and I would eat an entire tub and just be like sick afterwards, and then fluid retention would mess with the scales, and then this vicious cycle. Whereas now, I think, and particularly around my cycle, I discover I really want salty foods. So now I think, I'd like some popcorn, and so I get some popcorn, I have a handful, and I'm good. Like, it's the craving tick done, and I don't want any more. The number of times that my family order takeout and I just don't feel like it, or I choose a healthier option. I just don't. Yeah, it's really weird, because you're talking to someone who would kill for a cheeseburger, who, would eat hot chips like nothing else, who would eat heaps. Like, I just obsessed about food. It was never sweet so much as savouries, but just a sec. Someone had to come and join me. Anyway, I forget where I was at. Basically, I was raving on about how my brain has changed since being on the GPL-1. I think the first time I noticed it, like, I had the jab, as I call it, on the Friday, and then we went to Dreamworld or something the next day, and I wanted an ice cream. I had like a bite of an ice cream and couldn't eat anymore. Like, physically could not eat anymore. I've never experienced that before. I always thought people had amazing self-control. They'd go, I just have a taste, and that would be it. But I never experienced not wanting food before. That was the game changer. In that, like, then I was able to, keep under my calories. I was actually having the opposite issue where I'm not eating enough macros now. Protein is essential when you're on GPL-1s because it does affect your muscles. So obviously strength training is key for me right now, and I'd already been in that, so I'm already really loving that kind of style of training. So that has been working for me. I also in April got an iron infusion, which I think is finally starting to kick in, and I feel way better again. So with all of those little things, I've also seen a women's health GP specifically related to perimenopause and menopause, and she has put me onto a different regime with my HRT, which should help things even out a little bit with my hormones as well. So I'm doing all the work. I'm doing the exercise. I've got a few more health tests that she wants me to do, just scans on my reproductive system, which quite frankly I just wish would go away because I am done. And also some blood tests just to check where my iron levels are now. And she also referred me to a specific dietitian for perimenopause. So I will be going to see her as well as a physiotherapist, which may help with some of my posture and things like that. But that has been the journey. It isn't fully HRT. It's not HRT at all. It isn't, I wouldn't say it's even the GPL-1. Like, I already had the routines and the habits in place, and it's going to see me long term. I'm definitely feeling like I am changing. I can notice So I take my jab on a Friday. I can notice by Wednesday, Thursday, I can notice the food noise come back in. The appetite suppressant isn't as strong on those days, but that's okay because that's normal as well. Like, I am learning to understand and listen to my body. So that has been a total game changer. So some of the things that I've learnt through this last 9 months or whatever it is that I really do need a challenge and an external focus to keep me on track, and that's not always possible in my busy lifestyle. So that is something, though, that I really do thrive in. So if I have kind of a focus and something to kind of milestones to reach, then I do stay easier on track. So watch this space for more content around that, because I have some ideas. I have learnt that I am easily derailed and I'm not proud of that, but I am learning that I do get back up a lot quicker as well. If you had told me 12 months ago that I will have spent 9 months exercising and doing all of the things, I would have said 9 weeks maybe, but 9 months. Like, I feel very confident that this is a lifestyle change, something that I have changed for good in my brain. I'm still working on the food stuff. Hyperfocus is my superpower if it's directed in the right way, if it's not about random hobbies and things like that. It's definitely something that works in my favor if I work it. So I definitely do put a lot of, I want to emphasize, did put a lot of weight into the scales, no pun intended. But now I'm using it as data. So the numbers on the scales determine if I am on track for certain things. So I know for a fact that if I've slept really well, I've exercised regularly, if I've taken my creatine, which is something that I swear by the way, if I have, kept up my fluids, had a lot of protein, done all of the right things, eaten regularly, I definitely lose on the scales. But if I don't reach my protein goals, if I am not keeping my fluids up, if I'm not sleeping, if I'm eating salty, rich, yucky food, then the scales reflect that. And I know that for some people they'll be like, duh, but it's different now. And unless you have been where I've been, I don't think you will really ever truly understand. Or maybe it's an only me thing. I don't know. Let me know. Do you relate to any of this that I'm saying? Or is it just a me thing? I don't know. So as of today on the scales, I was 100.2 kilograms. So I'm like 300 grams off the double digits. Which is great. You've seen that I've thrown out a lot of clothes that no longer fit me. My body shape is changing, so that has been rewarding. I'm finally seeing and feeling the benefits of all of my efforts for the last 9 months, and I feel like it's going to be sustainable. Like I said, I do have some health stuff I need to do related to my reproductive system and getting scans and things on that, because there is a potential that I have endometriosis. I definitely had what used to be called polycystic ovarian syndrome. I think it's called PMOS now. So just working all that out, like actually have the time and brain space to actually look after myself in that respect. So that's new. And for the first time in my entire life, I actually feel like I can do this. I actually feel like I'm changing for the better, which is scary, but also promising. And I'm not saying that like a healthy weight range will make me happy, but the way that I'm going about getting my healthy weight range or achieving that healthier body is helping my brain. Like the physical activity, the just getting out there and doing things that I had never had the energy or capacity to do ever. That is changing my outlook on life. It's not 100% of the time, but that's normal as well. So it's definitely impacting my mental health for the well. So that's where I'm at. I'm keen to share my experiences around getting back on track with tracking my macros and how I go about working out what my macros are. If you're interested in any of that sort of stuff, I might make them like midweek videos. I'll keep the Monday uploads as like the main video, and then like just little like niche type content during the week. I'm obviously not going to make promises, but I am just in general feeling so much better about myself and just showing up real and raw in me. And I felt like I really needed to tell you about those strategies that I'm using to do what I'm aiming for, so that I can, there's context in it all. And that it's not been an easy quick fix either. Like, I still have a long way to go. I still have about 40 kilos to go before I'm in a healthy weight range. So I'm by no stretch of the imagination where I need to be. But I feel confident that I'm getting there and that I can. And it's exciting. And I, for the first time ever, actually feel like I will achieve this. So anyway, another thing that has crossed my mind, because I'm such a sucker for study, is that I was contemplating doing some study in dietitian type work, nutritionist type stuff, to maybe add to my ultimate goal of being a kind of a coach. That is the long-term dream. Right now it's full survival mode. I still have 4 kids. They're still my priority. My husband and our relationship is a priority. The things that I do for my community and for my work and that sort of stuff, they all remain my priority. Long-term dreams are there that'll just plod along in the background. Right now my focus is my health and my well-being, because that will see me able to achieve those things well into my 70s, 80s, 90s maybe. And ultimately set a really good example for my kids, who deserve a nice, healthy, happy mummy. So if you've enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. Check that you're subscribed, because sometimes YouTube does unsubscribe. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I aim to answer all the comments within the first 24 hours of the upload. So hopefully I can get to that. I really, truly appreciate all of the support and love and encouragement that you guys have given me over all of the years, but especially these last 3 weeks when I've started to show back up and allow myself to have a hobby outside of work and kids and life. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which, by the way, will be a little bit of a life reset, because it's the middle of the year and it's like a new year. So let's do that together. Okay, over here is a video that YouTube thinks that you might like, so check it out. Have a great day. Cheers.